I know I'm not supposed to be going through someone's phone, but what was I supposed to do? Just keep ignoring the pit in my stomach? The way he started guarding that old iPhone like it was some kind of sacred artifact? It wasn't even his main phone anymore. It just sat in his drawer, screen cracked, battery barely holding charge, but every time I got too close to it, he'd flinch. And last night, while he was out grabbing food, I cracked. We'll call him Logan. That's not his real name, obviously, but it fits. Polished, chill, easy with words. The kind of guy who always smelled like cedar and mint and made you feel like he actually saw you. Or at least, that's what I thought. My name's Marley. I'm 28. And I work in editorial for a wellness blog no one reads unless they're stuck in a dentist's office. I have an apartment with one dying ficus, a coffee machine I worship, and a relationship I thought was finally stable. Logan and I had been together for 11 months. Not quite a year, but long enough that I thought I knew him. We just talked about moving in together. He left a hoodie at my place, accidentally every other night. My dog liked him. My sister loved him. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were safe. So when I finally found myself sitting on the floor of his room, his old phone in my hands, screen flickering to life, I didn't think I was about to blow up my entire life. But I did. It wasn't the texts that got me. I mean, sure, there were some flirty DMs from names I didn't recognize, but nothing solid. Nothing I could prove. But then I saw the folder. It didn't have a name. Just a date. Almost 2 years ago. Before he met me. And I should have stopped there. I should have had the respect, the maturity, the whatever the hell else people say you're supposed to have in a relationship. But I opened it. And inside, there were 8 videos. Shaky, grainy, poorly lit, probably shot on that same cracked phone. I clicked on the most recent one, no hesitation, and that's when everything collapsed. It was Logan, in someone else's bedroom, on her bed, with her. You couldn't see her face, just the back of her head, the curve of her spine, the way he touched her like it was muscle memory. But you could hear her voice, soft, familiar. And then I realized why. Because it wasn't just some girl. It wasn't an old fling. It was someone I knew. Someone I'd never, in a million years, have suspected. But I'll get to that. Because in that moment, sitting there in the dark, hearing his voice whisper her name, my whole body went cold. Like my blood had stopped circulating. Like my brain had short-circuited, and all that was left was white noise and disbelief. I wasn't angry yet. I wasn't even heartbroken. I was just stunned. Like the world had tilted 5 degrees left and no one warned me. That video wasn't meant to survive. He'd switched phones, wiped his messages, changed numbers. But that one folder, that one night, it was still there, waiting. And now that I'd seen it, I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't unknow it. And I sure as hell couldn't pretend everything was normal anymore, because whatever I thought this relationship was, it just ended in 41 seconds with a video he never meant to save. Before you start thinking you had to know, save it, because I've been tearing through every memory like crime scene footage since last night. Every kiss, every love you, babe, every quiet morning he made me coffee like it meant something, and all I keep landing on is this. He played me so well, it felt like love. Not because I'm dumb, not because I'm naive, but because I trusted him. You know what's wild? There weren't even red flags. Not the obvious kind, anyway. He wasn't secretive with his phone. He'd text in front of me. He left his laptop open, didn't snatch it away when I walked by. He met my friends. He kissed me in public. He was present. He didn't just play the part. He lived it. He knew my coffee order. He remembered the name of my high school bully. He once drove across town at 2 a.m. when I had a panic attack because of a dream. So no, I didn't suspect a thing. And before you say, Marley, why'd you go through his old phone then? Because I felt it. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't prove it. But something shifted. 2 weeks ago, he stopped saying goodnight first. Then he canceled our Sunday plans, said work emergency, didn't FaceTime like he usually does on late nights, and I told myself I was overthinking it, Because women always do that, right? We gaslight ourselves into silence. We call our intuition insecurity. But that old phone, that drawer, it kept staring at me. Every time I opened it to grab a charger or some socks, there it was, like it wanted to be found. Let me be clear. I wasn't looking to start a war. I just wanted clarity. Something solid. Something to prove that I wasn't crazy. Instead, I got something worse. And now I'm stuck in this weird purgatory where nothing's technically happening right this second, but everything's already changed. Like the bomb already went off and I'm just walking through the dust, trying to make sense of what's left. The thing that really fucks me up, it's not just the act, it's the intimacy. That video wasn't just some hookup. The way he looked at her, the way she looked back. There was history there. There was comfort. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a breadcrumb trail. And I just tripped over it. You want to know the scariest part? I still love him. Even now. Even after seeing that. Isn't that sick? Isn't that the most humiliating part of all this? Because love doesn't just evaporate in a single betrayal. It cracks. It bleeds out slowly. It dies screaming. And I'm not ready to kill it yet. Which makes me hate myself a little bit more. But I will. I'll get there. Because once you see someone lie that effortlessly, once you hear it with your own ears, you can't come back from that. Not even if they beg. Not even if they swear it meant nothing. Because when someone records their betrayal, keeps it, hides it, buries it in pixels and dust, that's not an accident. That's a souvenir. And I'm not a woman you keep in a drawer. Before all of this, before the video, before the unraveling, I really believed I'd found the person I'd grow old with. We met at a charity mixer for a local animal shelter. I wasn't even supposed to go. My friend Talia dragged me there because she had a crush on one of the event organizers, and I figured I'd at least get some wine and pet a few rescue dogs out of the deal. But then I saw him. Let's just call him Ethan. He was standing by the snack table, feeding pretzels to a Labrador puppy like it was the most important task on earth. He had that effortless presence, like the kind of guy who doesn't need to be loud to be seen. I remember thinking, please let him be normal. He was. At least, he seemed like it. He made me laugh within 5 minutes of meeting him. The dry, observational kind of humor that doesn't try too hard. He asked real questions. About my job, about my family, about the book I was halfway through and thought no one else had read. He listened. That alone felt rare. We started slow. Dates turned into weekends. Weekends turned into toothbrushes left behind and drawers cleared out. He met my parents on Thanksgiving. My dad grilled him about football. My mom made her welcome to the family lasagna. He handled both like a pro. My friends, they loved him, called him Endgame. Even Talia, who's always skeptical, said he had golden retriever energy in the best way. For over a year, things were solid. Not perfect, but real. We cooked together, binge-watched trash TV, got into dumb debates about what the best French fry shape was. He was the first guy who made me feel safe enough to sleep soundly next to. No games, no weird gaps in communication. If he was working late, he'd FaceTime me from the office. If I was having a rough day, he'd Uber Eats me soup without being asked. I let myself believe this was what stability looked like. Not fireworks every second, but warmth, dependability, a quiet kind of happiness that didn't need performance. We talked about moving in together next summer. We'd already started looking at places, saved listings, sent each other decor ideas. We even had a Pinterest board. I know that sounds cheesy, but it felt like a future. Our future. That's why it's so hard to explain what happened next, because everything felt normal, boring even, in the best way. No drama, no suspicion, just life. And then came that stupid box. I was reorganizing the closet. One of those Saturday morning, I just need everything clean moods. I was shoving winter coats into bins when I found it. A beat-up shoebox from when he'd moved into his last apartment. It had his messy handwriting on the lid. Old tech, do not toss. I opened it without thinking. Just cables, chargers, a cracked tablet, and near the bottom, one of his old phones. A chunky black Android that looked like it hadn't been turned on in years. I smiled. Thought it was cute. Nostalgic. Figured maybe it had old photos, maybe of us from the early days. I shook it out of habit, like it might rattle with memories, then plugged it in, just for fun. I wasn't looking for secrets. I was looking for love notes, old playlists, screenshots of stupid jokes we shared. Instead, I found everything else. And that was the moment the life I thought I had cracked. I just didn't know how deep the break would go. I wish I could say I stopped breathing the second the screen lit up, that the betrayal hit me all at once like a car crash. But no, it was worse. It was slow. The phone took forever to boot, like it was dragging its feet, resisting what it was about to reveal. The wallpaper was a default background, nothing identifiable. The gallery was mostly empty, just a few generic photos, sunsets, receipts, some half-deleted app screenshots. But one folder caught my eye. Auto-saved. I clicked it out of boredom, or curiosity, or some invisible force begging me not to. And that's when I saw it. The thumbnail alone was enough to send something cold straight through my chest. A dimly lit bedroom, sheets I didn't recognize, a figure sitting on the edge of the bed, shirtless, hair messy, laughing, but not alone. I hit play, and suddenly I was watching him, Ethan, with someone else. Not just in the background, not just a flash, full on, smiling, talking, touching. The camera must have been resting somewhere because the angle never shifted. They were comfortable, familiar. This wasn't a drunk mistake or one-time lapse. This was a relationship. I paused the video, rewound, froze it, zoomed in, because something about the girl looked familiar, her voice, especially. I replayed the part where she laughed and said his name in that half-teasing way I used to. And that's when it hit me. Let's just call her Ray. She used to work with me. We were in the same department for almost a year before she switched companies. Ray of the cherry red lipstick, messy desk, and infectious laugh. The one who came to my birthday dinner last spring and brought me a candle that said bad bitch energy. The one who used to tell me I glowed differently when I talked about Ethan. Her. My chest tightened, like my lungs were trying to reject the air. I sat on the floor, the box still open beside me, the rest of the phone contents suddenly irrelevant. I couldn't even blink. I just kept hearing her laugh. And now that I'm thinking back, the signs were always there. Not loud or obvious, but real. Ethan used to flinch slightly when Ray's name came up in conversation, just a split-second delay before responding. He once said, "Wait, Ray from your old office? I think I've met her," then immediately changed the subject. There were vague stories too, like the time he told me he hadn't dated anyone seriously for over a year when we first met. But now that I'm looking at the dates on that video, the math doesn't line up. Not even close. I remember asking him once about his last relationship, and he said something like, "It ended messy. She needed closure I couldn't give." At the time, I assumed it was some random ex, but now I'm wondering, was that Ray? And if it was, did she know? Did she know he'd moved on to me? Did she even care? Everything started blurring together. Every timeline, every story, every coincidence suddenly felt like a cover-up. This wasn't just about a guy who kept a secret. This was about a man who never truly ended his past before starting a future with me, and a woman who pretended to be my friend while waiting in the wings. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Because the deeper I dug, the more I realized that video, it wasn't just a fluke. It was a recording of a pattern. And I was just the latest addition to the collection. I didn't storm in like some scene from a movie. There was no screaming, no flying objects, no dramatic music cue. I walked into Ethan's apartment, let's just keep calling him that, like it was a normal Thursday night, because if I didn't keep it together, I was going to fall apart. He was in the kitchen, reheating pasta. His face lit up when he saw me, which made everything so much worse. "Hey, babe," he said, like I hadn't just watched a video of him touching another woman's body like it was his home, like I didn't already know. I pulled out the old phone, dropped it on the counter between us like a murder weapon. He blinked, then blinked again. "You remember this?" I asked. Calm, cold, calculated. He stared at it, confused, or pretending to be. "Where did you get that?" His voice cracked slightly, and that was the first tell. "You left it in a box in your closet," I said. "Not hidden, not locked, just there. He reached for it, like he could take the moment back with his fingers. I didn't let him touch it. Instead, I hit play. The same video, the same voice, the same laugh. He froze. Then came the excuses. Babe, it's old. That was forever ago. She didn't mean anything. I forgot it was even there. I watched him flail, watched his lies crawl out one by one like cockroaches in the light. Every sentence made it worse, because none of them started with, "I'm sorry." Forever ago, I snapped. Ethan, the timestamp is 5 weeks before our first date. He looked away. Is that when it ended? I asked. Did it ever end? He didn't answer. Just rubbed the back of his neck and stared at the microwave like it could rescue him. And here's where things really cracked open. I didn't find the phone on my own, I said. He looked up. His face changed. What? Your sister told me to look. Now that got a reaction. He stepped back like I'd slapped him. My sister? He said, voice rising. Yep, let's just call her Sophie. The one who always hugged me too tightly, who once whispered, "You deserve honesty no matter what," when we were both wine drunk at a family dinner. I thought she was just talking in general terms, but now I see it was more than that. She said I should trust my instincts, I said. That if I was already doubting something, I probably had a reason. He looked like he'd been gutted. So what? She went through my stuff. No, she just said, check the closet box. That's all. Silence. It hung between us like a noose. I was going to delete it, he said finally. I just forgot. That's what you're going with? I asked. You forgot to delete a full-on sex tape with my coworker? She's not your coworker anymore? Wow, I laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's what you think matters right now? He opened his mouth, but I'd already turned around. You don't get to gaslight your way out of this one, I said over my shoulder. You don't get to cry about privacy when you couldn't even give me basic truth. And just before I left, I turned back one more time. Sophie told me something else too, I added. She said she wasn't the only one in your family who knew, that they just didn't say anything because they thought you'd grow out of it. The look on his face confirmed everything. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a man built on a pattern. And I was just the latest in a long string of women who believed he could change. The first 2 nights after everything imploded, I didn't sleep. I laid in bed, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning like it might cut through the silence and give me answers. My body ached. Not from illness, not from exhaustion, but from betrayal. I'd never known grief could feel physical until now. I kept replaying it. The video, his excuses, that awful moment where the world tilted and kept spinning without giving me a chance to brace myself. The flashbacks hit different now. Every "I love you" sounded fake. Every hand on my lower back, every inside joke, every brunch order he remembered, it all felt scripted, like he had played this part before, like I was just another run of the same performance. My appetite disappeared. So did my focus. I couldn't work. I couldn't listen to music. I deleted our photos, but my brain kept showing them to me anyway, like trauma flashcards. And then I did something I told myself I wouldn't do. I reached out to Ray. I found her on Instagram. Still followed me, surprisingly. Her page was full of beach trips, matcha lattes, soft lighting, and filtered quotes about self-love. I messaged her. Just one line. We need to talk. She replied in under 2 minutes. Yeah, we probably do. We met at a small cafe near my apartment. She showed up in a hoodie, sunglasses, like we were staging a sting operation. I didn't say anything at first, just stared. She looked guilty, but not shocked. I know who you are, I finally said, so don't act like this was an accident. Ray sighed and took off her glasses. I'm not going to lie to you, she said, because I feel like you deserve more than that. I folded my arms. Start talking. We were together for a while, she said. On and off, toxic, confusing, whatever. When he met you, we were technically broken up, but not really. My stomach flipped. She kept going. He told me about you. Not everything, but enough. I knew you were together. I just didn't care. That's when it stopped being about him for a second. and started being about her. "You knew?" I asked. "You knew he was with someone else, and you still—" "I know how that sounds," she cut in, "but I thought I still had a chance." He always circled back. Always. I shook my head. My throat burned. "Was this still going on while we were together?" I asked. "Like after we moved past the first few months?" She hesitated, then nodded. Yes. And that was it. That was the final nail. The confirmation that I hadn't just been lied to, I'd been watched, judged, pitied. Ray had smiled at my Instagram posts, liked photos of Ethan and me together, all while knowing she'd seen more of him than I had. She finished her tea, wiped her mouth, and stood up. "I'm sorry," she said, but it didn't sound like regret. It sounded like closure. Hers. I watched her leave, and for the first time in days, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, numb. Because the truth wasn't just ugly, it was shared. And I didn't even know I was in the room. The breakup wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no drawn-out arguments, no final pleas. I just walked into Ethan's apartment, let's keep calling him that, grabbed the few things I'd left behind, and said the words flatly. "I'm done." He didn't chase, didn't beg, just stood there, jaw clenched, like maybe he thought silence would make him seem noble, like letting me walk away made him less guilty. It didn't. I walked out the door and kept walking. Around the block, down 2 more streets, into nowhere. I didn't even feel my legs. That night, I curled up on Talia's couch with a throw blanket that smelled like her dog and old popcorn. She let me cry. She didn't ask questions. Not at first. But by the next day, she started treading into dangerous territory. I mean, I didn't want to say anything then, but that phrase, the beginning of betrayal wrapped in concern. She admitted that she always got a weird vibe from Ethan, that his stories never added up, that he once accidentally called her by Ray's name. But she didn't tell me, not even once. I sat there, heart in my throat, realizing that Talia, my best friend, my ride or die, had been suspicious for months and chose to smile through it. And it didn't stop there. My coworker Simi said something similar. "Oh wow, yeah, I thought it was odd that he never posted you." Even Sophie, Ethan's sister, who had warned me gently, she still let it happen. Everyone had pieces of the puzzle, and no one handed them to me. I wasn't just lied to by Ethan, I was protected from the truth by the people who claimed to love me. And that hurt in a way the cheating never could, because I realized something brutal. No one wants to be the one to break your illusion. They'd rather let you live in it, even if it's a lie, because they think it's kinder. But ignorance isn't peace. It's poison dressed as comfort. I stopped answering calls, ignored texts that said, "thinking of you," from people who'd been thinking of me the least when it mattered. I started deleting contacts, not out of pettiness, but preservation. Because what's worse than being cheated on? Being the only one who didn't know. I spent the next week walking in circles. Literally. I'd walk until my legs hurt, sit at random benches, scroll through old messages, and try to figure out where the shift happened, where I lost the thread. But there wasn't one moment. There were dozens, and none of them registered, because I trusted people to be honest with me. I thought love came with honesty. I thought friendship did too. Turns out loyalty isn't always loud, and silence isn't always neutral. Sometimes it's betrayal in disguise, and that broke me more than any video ever could. Because you can get over a man, but it's harder to recover from the realization that the people you lean on were just watching you fall. If you've made it this far, let me say this. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about what you do after betrayal takes everything from you. Because here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. It's not just the breakups that break you, it's the undoing of everything you believed. The morning after I left Ethan, yes, still calling him that. I woke up on Talia's couch with a headache and a decision. I was done letting this man take up space. In my head, in my chest, in my future. I blocked his number, deleted every thread, moved my things out of storage, and signed a 6-month lease in a part of town he never liked, because that's where I could breathe. I changed my number, let a few people go without explanation. Not because I'm cruel, but because I'm done bleeding for people who watched me drown. I started therapy. I didn't want to at first. Thought I could journal my way through the spiral, but it wasn't working. I needed someone to sit across from me and say, "You're not crazy. You were just betrayed with precision." And that's exactly what happened. Week after week, I unpacked it all. Not just Ethan, but Ray and Talia, and all the ways I'd taught myself to accept crumbs and call it comfort. I started noticing the patterns. How I had made it so easy for someone like him to lie to me because I needed to believe people were good, because I was terrified of being alone. But I'm not scared of that anymore. Now, I go to dinner alone. I take long walks with no destination. I play music too loud in my tiny kitchen while making food for one. And I'm okay. Not healed, not perfect, but okay. Because clarity doesn't always come with closure from others. Sometimes it shows up disguised as heartbreak. And for me, it showed up in a video I was never supposed to see. I think about that sometimes. How if his sister hadn't said something, if I hadn't plugged in that phone, I'd still be there. Still smiling beside a man who was lying with every breath. Still texting Ray without knowing she'd memorized every freckle on his chest. Still calling Talia my best friend, not knowing she was staying silent for my protection. It's wild how the truth doesn't just set you free, it shatters you so you can build from scratch. And that's what I'm doing now. I started a new job, bought a used car that doesn't stall on left turns, adopted a senior cat named Whiskey who ignores me unless I'm crying. Then she sits on my chest like a weighted blanket from God. I've stopped asking why me and started asking, what now? I'm no longer in the business of fixing people or waiting for them to become who they promised. I want real, ugly truths over pretty lies, tough love over empty comfort, silence only when it's peace, not avoidance, and maybe one day I'll fall in love again. But next time, I'll know what to look for, not just in him, but in me, in how I feel, how I'm treated, how I'm supported when no one's watching. Because I've been the girl who didn't know. And now, I know everything. So if you're watching this, and you're in that in-between space, where your gut's whispering but your heart keeps making excuses, listen to the gut. Every time. That phone wasn't meant to be found. That video wasn't meant to be seen. But I found it. And I saw it. And it wrecked me. But it also saved me. And I'll never be blind again.